Welcome, everyone, because we've got a very interesting topic. We've got Alexandra going to give us an overview of cyber awareness in 2025. So I'm going to turn it over to Alexandra.
Thank you so much, Milton, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexandra Silvestri, and I am the IT systems trainer. Welcome to our cybersecurity awareness today. In today's session, we'll focus on something absolutely critical in our digital world, and that is cybersecurity, not only for you personally, but also for our organization. Specifically, we'll explore the evolving landscape of phishing, social engineering, and the new emerging threat of AI generated attacks, such as deepfakes, which, let me tell you, I am completely shook about. Now, I know that cybersecurity is not the most exciting training, and it may sound a little technical, but trust me, this is relevant information for every single one of us, regardless of our role here at the Michaels organization. Whether you're managing properties or handling administrative tasks, you're leading at the administrative level, or just come into our building from time to time, note that protecting ourselves and our company and the sensitive information that we handle daily is of utmost importance. Why does cybersecurity matter? Why should people be here listening to this presentation? Well, at the Michaels organization, we handle a lot of sensitive information, including resident data, financial records, and other proprietary business information. A successful cyber attack can be very serious for our organization and come with serious consequences, including financial losses, damage to our reputation, legal liabilities, and disruption to our daily operations. The more you know, the more you can do. And that's what I hope to impart during the training here. This is especially true when it comes to the world of cybersecurity. This training is designed to equip you with the knowledge and the best practices to help you stay up to date with some of the threats that are out there and how to be cyber smart and cyber secure. On today's agenda, I'll be going over the following key areas. So, understanding common cyber threats. Where are the risks we face? Where do they lie? How do you come in contact with them on a daily basis? We're going to be talking about phishing and social engineering, so spotting and avoiding some of those deceptive tactics that are in play right now. We're going to talk about password security, creating and managing strong passwords, not using your pet's name, for instance, as your password or your birthday. We're going to talk about protecting devices and data. So best practices for your computer and your mobile devices. Recognizing and reporting incidents. What do you do if something seems wrong? What do you do if you believe that you have encountered a threat that you accidentally clicked on? And then we're going to talk about TMO's cybersecurity policies. So let's start by understanding some of the common threats we face in the cybersecurity landscape. Phishing, malware, ransomware, social engineering, and data breaches. The reality is that cyber threats are becoming more sophisticated and frequent. It's not just some guy in a hoodie in a basement anymore. We're seeing highly organized criminal groups developing technology and clever ways to trick us. Think about it. We're all more connected than ever. The world really has become smaller for us. We rely on emails and online platforms, internal systems to complete our work. This interconnectedness, though wonderful because we can talk to anyone in the world, and it's efficient, it also creates opportunities for attackers to exploit some of our vulnerabilities. And there are plenty of vulnerabilities which you will learn throughout this session. The first term we're going to describe is phishing. So what is phishing and how does it work? So we're not talking about the phishing with the hook and the reel. I finally did that for the first time. Wasn't very good at it. But this phishing is with a PH. And the first thing you need to know about phishing scams is that it's not the same as hacking. Phishing scams are all about tricking people into giving up their personal information, like credit card numbers or online banking passwords, by masquerading as a trustworthy entity in an email or text messaging. It's called phishing because the criminals are phishing for your sensitive data from behind a computer screen. It only takes one click on the wrong link for everyone you care about, your cash, your contacts, photos, our sensitive Michael's information to be gone forever. Yeah, Jonathan, we're talking about fishing with a PH. We're not catching trout or tuna. Under the phishing umbrella, there's malware. Malware is a malicious software like a virus or a worm that can damage systems, steal data, or encrypt some of our files, or all of our files, that is. It can spread through infected attachments, malicious websites, even seem like harmless software. So even if you're not on a website, if you want to download something, that can contain some of that malicious software that can steal some of our sensitive information. Like malware, we also have ransomware. And ransomware encrypts your files and demands a ransom payment for their release. So imagine losing access to critical documents and being asked to pay a significant amount of money to get it back. And I'm talking about like thousands of dollars per file, which amounts to millions or billions of dollars that this ransomware is asking for. So, what do these phishing attempts usually look like, right? So, here are some common tactics that we see. So, we see urgency and threat. So, someone might email you, call you on the phone, or send you a text messaging saying your account has been compromised, act now, or you missed the payment, immediate action required. This is designed to make you panic and click without thinking. When it comes to phishing, people are looking for your vulnerabilities. So another one is authority impersonation. This is a really popular one that has been popping up. Authority impersonation, they often pretend to be someone that you trust. So whether it be someone from IT or HR, a senior executive, or even a vendor that we work with, they might use convincing logos and email addresses that seem very real and legitimate at first glance. So you might be reading something really quickly and say, oh, this is from Alex from IT. I know who that is, and click on it without thinking. There could be malicious attachments. These emails might contain, attachments that you open that will then make that malware place it on our computers and our system. And again, those links, they often look really real, but they're just designated and designed to steal your credentials. Always hover over a link before you click on the actual web address. All links start with HTTP, and if it's a secure website, it'll have HTTPS. That S stands for secure. So if you ever see a link that just has HTTP in the beginning, do not click on it. It is an unsecure website. It is a website that was created specifically to con people. Again, we're going to learn throughout this presentation that hackers are getting really smart, right? That these phishers are becoming smarter by the day, especially with the use of AI technology. So there will be some websites that also have HTTPS that are secure, that are impersonation websites, but we'll get to that more a little later. So here is an example of an email that someone might send you, that is looking for information. So this document here, it's an email that I received, and it says, someone has sent a document to you for review. It's from the Michaels organization. I see our logo there. So I know that, this is part of our system. It's coming from Google, which is it's our workspace. It's the email entity that we use. However, there's some things that you should look at for. So, for example, who? Who has sent this document for review? It doesn't note there. Typically, when you get a document that's shared with you through Google, it will say the name of the person has shared a document with you for review. There's no name there, so don't click on it. Also, the website's kind of funky. I would double check that website as well. I mean, that email address, that doesn't look like something that Google would use. Again, it doesn't tell me who has shared this document with me, and it wants me to click here or open. A lot of the times we look at these emails and say, well, there's so many typos. Of course, this can't be legit. But seeing that Google is spelled correctly and seeing that everything else is pretty correct, that rule does not apply. So one thing to look at specifically is, did they have your name? Is there a greeting? Is the email address fishy? Is there an embedded link? Now, another one that can come to you is one that talks about, a credit card payment that's due or something having to do with your finances. And this email is an example of that, right? There's a sense of urgency, the pressure to make people more likely to click on something that they shouldn't. It's all designed to lower our defenses, right? So I bank with Bank of America. So this came through and I'm thinking, oh, this is serious. What, I ran out of money? How did this happen? But looking at this further, examining it a lot closer, I saw that there were some things that did not seem legit. For instance, it says on the subject that my credit card payment is due. However, in the body of the email, it says that I have an ATM withdrawal or a debit card purchase that exceeds the amount of the money that I'm trying to get out of my account. So is it that my credit card payment is due, or is it that I've run out of money, that I exceeded the amount of money that's in my account? Let's look at the suspicious sender email. It just seems slightly off. I've never seen a Bank of America link say, customer service at ap.login. That's just not something that's common. Another thing to look for is grammatical errors. So Bank of America throughout this email is all uppercase when talking about themselves, yet the formatting in this arrow here is inconsistent. This is the only place where Bank of America, the word bank is not capitalized, where you can see that it's capitalized everywhere else. Remember, legitimate organizations tend to use professional individuals to double check their grammar and to double check their spelling. And so this is something that's a very easy slip up that I don't think an editor would not see. The other thing is, the link that's there. One of the things that I do when I get an email or any other forms of communication that's urging me to click on a link to go on a website is that I take the extra step to open up my browser, type in the website. So I will not click on this link. I will go to Bank of America. I will type in Bank of America, log into my account, and see if there's any messages there or any errors. It is an extra step. That's kind of annoying when you have a link that's already there on the email. However, taking the extra step does protect you from being falling prey to going into a website that looks just like Bank of America's website, but is not their website. But phishing is not new and is not something that's going away. There have been several notable phishing cases that emerged in 2024, highlighting the specific threats of these cybersecurities. So, for example, Change Healthcare was attacked back in February of 2024, and 100 million users' information was impacted. So there's also emails and various scams that impersonate brands like Microsoft or Amazon, Google, and even Starbucks. They're learning our habits and learning what we go to on a frequent basis, and then using that information to then hook us and try to reel us in with their phishing attempts. Now let's move on to social engineering. While phishing often uses technology as a vehicle to prey on its victims, social engineering is a whole other beast. It's a lot broader. It is the art of manipulating people into performing actions or divulging and sharing confidential information. It really relies on exploiting the vulnerabilities of human psychology. So it taps into our trust, our helpfulness, our fears, and even our curiosity. So there are some common social engineering tactics that social engineers use. So pretexting. This involves creating a believable scenario or a pretext to trick someone into giving up information. So with social engineering, it's not sending you information or sending you links all through technology. It's really more of a personal space uh, interference. They come into your personal space. It's more personal. It's more um, in your face than a phishing attempt would be. So, for example, an attacker might call you pretending to be from IT, saying that they need your password to fix a system issue. There's also baiting, and baiting involves something enticing like a USB drive that you found in a common area. Uh, you're like, ooh, what could be on this, right? So you plug that into your computer, and then, you're plugging in and installing malware that will go through our system and steal vulnerable information. There's also quid pro quo. So this involves offering a benefit in exchange for information or access. For example, someone might call offering a free software upgrade in exchange for your login credentials. So, you know, let's say you use Dropbox, right? And they can call you up saying, "Hi, we're from Dropbox and we're calling you to let you know that you've been grandfathered in to a special discount, but we do need to log into your account with your permission to give you that discount." And then there's tailgating or piggybacking. And this is a physical tactic used by these hackers um, to follow you into an unauthorized location. So, they might act like they forgot their badge, for instance, when you swipe in. They might say they can get into the elevator, and then you let them on to whatever floor they need, and then they get access to our physical property and our physical technology. And so to see this in practice, I'm going to show you a video. I don't tend to show videos during my presentations, but I want you to see how easy it is for someone to fall prey to social engineering.
What do you think of when I say the word hacker? Some creepy dude in a basement? Well, that's a misconception. What if I told you there's a class of hackers who don't just have social skills? They have more social intelligence than anyone you'll ever meet. David Kennedy is one of them. He's what's known as a social engineer, or a people hacker. His craft is to dupe you into doing things and sharing information you probably shouldn't.
Can I just get your credit card number?
Some use it for illegal activity. In David's case, companies pay him to find out if employees are leaving the company vulnerable. He and his team show us how it's done. Step 1. Spoof his number so it looks like he's calling from inside the company, and then call tech support.
Hello, you there? Hello?
Hi, this is Ken. can. How may I help you?
I was wondering if you can take a look at a website I'm trying to get to. It's for a big customer thing I'm working on for Monday, and I can't seem to get to the website from my computer.
Sure. What's the website? I'll see if I can get to it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the help. I mean, it could be a stupid thing. I'm really stuck with computers, but so it's www.survey. That's SURVEY -pro.com.
Yeah, I got a prompt to open. I just clicked open, and I'm at the site now.
Here's what the IT guy doesn't realize. By clicking that link, he's just given David full access to his computer.
Whoa, okay, that's weird. I just hit it and it works. It seems like it's working fine now. Awesome. I don't know what you did, man, but I really appreciate the help.
Hey, no problem. That was easy.
That was it?
We're on his computer right now.
You were able to take over this guy's computer within, I would say, like under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes, yeah. Under 2 minutes, took over his entire computer, and think of it as not just his computer, but it's pretty much a downfall of the entire company.
In this case, the company was paying David to hack them and see if their employees would fall for it. They did. To show you this demo, we agreed not to use the company's name. Kennedy Hacks to Protect. He's part of a growing number of hackers using this skill for good. Josh Corman's one of them too. He started a group to help bridge the gap between hackers and big companies.
Hacking is a form of power. Not surprisingly, as you walked into my house and saw all the Spider-Man stuff, I'm a big fan of the Stan Lee line of with great power comes great responsibility. We're coming to a point where the outside world, with a breach a week, a breach a day, affecting people's personal lives and national security, we got to grow up a bit, and we need to be very deliberate about how we use that power.
So just like that, someone in IT was duped into getting a link that puts malware onto the system. And it's just that easy. Just as the video showed us, think of social engineering as a con artist game. It rarely is like just a jump scare, right? It's a lot more intricate than that. First, the bad guy does their homework. They're like detectives. They're looking for vulnerabilities. So if you share things online, think about your LinkedIn profile. Most of us have public LinkedIn profiles because that's how we network with other individuals, right? We want to be able to show our profiles and make relationships and form relationships with other people, whether it's in the field or former individuals that we worked with. And so it's very easy to go onto LinkedIn and find out where you work and what your title is. If you are a higher up executive, they can just go on the website and find your name and your title as well. I used to work in higher education, and as an assistant dean of students, my name, my email address, my phone number, and the building where I was located was on every website, right? It was very easy. It would have been very easy for a hacker to know my information and know how to get in contact with me and know what department I run and what kind of information I would have access to based on that information. So they'll snoop around online and see what information is publicly available to them about the Michaels organization. They're then going to try to figure out the easiest way to spot a potential weakness in our chain. Then comes the charm of the offensive. So that's the manipulation part. So that's the hook, right? So this is the social engineering life cycle. So this is the hook, part 2. They create a scenario, just like in an email, a very urgent request that may be too good to be true, like an offer, for instance, and they nudge you into doing something that you normally wouldn't do, and that's typically breaking protocols or security rules by giving away a password, or like that individual in the video who worked for IT, typing in a link, or letting someone into a secure area that they shouldn't be. Then we go to number 3, where they extract our personal information and then they exit. Number 4, they exit the relationship. They scare us into silence, and then they cover their tracks. So when it comes to social engineering, it's not out of the blue. This is something that has been premeditated, and they were just looking for the weak link in our defense chain. So something that has me really frightened lately is the advancement of technology when it comes to AI. Now, typically when we think about AI, the first thought that came to me was, well, they're gonna take my job, right? Like that's what AI is there to do. But honestly, AI is a lot more intricate than just taking someone's job, right? So let's discuss some of the more recent threats and rapidly evolving technology that really are taking over, the hacking world. So AI is now very sophisticated, and every day it gains more and more information and knowledge. It's sophisticated enough that it now creates realistic fake videos, audio recordings, and even text-based communications. So, in the past, we always said during our trainings, look for any grammatical errors, look for any inconsistencies when it comes to a company's logo, look for any links that may seem to be fishy or dodgy, but that's getting harder and harder to do because of the sophistication of AI. So this does open up a whole new realm of possibilities for attackers to impersonate individuals convincingly. So we're seeing a few types of AI generated attacks emerging. First, we have the deep fake videos. These are manipulated videos that were created to make it appear as though someone is saying or doing something that they never did. So imagine a deep fake video of one of our senior executives instructing an employee to transfer funds to a fraudulent account. There's AI generated audio. So this can mimic anyone's voice with remarkable accuracy. Attackers can use this to make convincing phone calls, perhaps impersonating a colleague or vendor to request sensitive information. There's AI enhanced phishing emails, like I was saying before. So they craft these highly personalized and grammatically flawless emails that make it a little harder to spot than before. They can analyze communication patterns and mimic someone's writing style. So if you've been hacked, they can really study the cadence of the way that you speak. They can study your keystrokes and see how fast you typically type when responding to a chat. They can also use your style of writing to mimic an email and create an email that sounds very much like you do. So while widespread, publicly reported deepfake threats and attacks are relatively new. The technology is just advancing very, very rapidly. So let's take a minute and imagine a scenario where a regional manager receives a realistic audio message from our VP of operations, urgently requesting access to a specific resident report or financial report. The voice sounds exactly like their superior to the T. And they use familiar phrases and their same usual tone. There's nothing off. Like they're not sounding like Alexa. This level of realism can make it really hard to identify social engineer attack. So we are seeing AI being used more and more to create these sophisticated outreaches, but also social media profiles, also websites that they're using that looks exactly like a legitimate website of someone. So let's say you like to shop at Old Navy, right? It's really easy to create a website by using AI that looks exactly like an Old Navy website. And I only said Old Navy because that's one of my favorite places to shop. Can't beat those $5 t-shirts. So there was recently a very pretty significant incident back in 2024 that highlights the evolving threats of AI and deepfake. So this one in particular was an incident where a finance professional in Hong Kong was unfortunately tricked into transferring $25 million. I know, you're like, how? How can you do this? This was very sophisticated. The employee received a message that appeared to be from their UK-based CFO discussing a confidential transaction. Initially, the employee was very suspicious. They were like, this has to be a phishing attempt. However, this was a very elaborate scam. Um, it was very effective because there was a subsequent video call. And in that video call, the employee joined the meeting, and the individual who looked and sounded exactly like the CFO, plus other colleagues that they knew, were in that video call. And it turned out to be that every individual on that call, except for that one employee, was a deep fake recreation. Because the visual and the audio of the colleagues were so convincing, the employee initially, his doubts that he had initially were, they were overcome. He was like, this has to be them. They're all here. They all sound like them. They're all acting like they do. They have those mannerisms that they always have. So believing that the other participants were genuine, the employee proceeded to transfer that substantial amount of $25 million. And this case, which is just one of the many cases that have been publicly shared, really is underscoring the impact of deepfake technology in this business-related world that we live in, right? So you have to have a high level of vigilance, even when things appear to be legitimate. So how can you protect yourself as an individual, and how can you protect TML? Because it all seems very scary, right? So with all these threats out there, what can we do to protect ourselves? And it all boils down to some simple key principles. First of all, be skeptical. Be like me at an airport. Everyone is guilty until proven innocent, right? Like, I trust no one when I'm at an airport. Always question unsolicited communications, whether they come via email, whether it's a text or a phone call. If something feels off or rushed, which typically isn't, then it probably is a fake request. Verify information. Don't take things at face value. If you receive a suspicious request, especially one involving finances or sensitive data, verify it through a separate trusted channel. So if someone's reaching out to you via email, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and give somebody a call, and make sure that you're speaking to the individual that has reached out to you. As always, think before you click. Be extremely cautious about clicking on links or opening attachments in emails of unknown or suspicious senders. Make sure to hover over a link to see if it's the actual destination of the URL. And like I mentioned before, when in doubt, just go to, take that second step. It only takes a few minutes or a few seconds, nanoseconds, to type in a website of a trusted organization that you frequent. Let's talk about password security. Your password is your first line of defense when it comes to your accounts and our organization's data. Weak passwords are like having a really good door lock, but leaving the door wide open. So it doesn't matter, what our organization has in terms of antivirus, firewall defenses. If you're not closing that front door and locking it with that really sophisticated lock, you're just leaving yourself and our organization vulnerable to any trespassers. So in creating a password, length matters. Aim for passwords that are at least 12 characters long. And remember that the longer the password, the better. Don't forget to mix it up. So use a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, throw in some numbers, and even some special characters like exclamations or the @ sign, $ signs. Make sure that you're mixing it up. Avoid reusing passwords for different sites and different accounts. So if you're used to using a specific password because it's something that you can remember, just know that the more you use it throughout different applications, the more vulnerable you are to a hacker learning that password and then just impersonating you across different applications. Also use phrases. That's the newer thing that people are encouraging you to use. So if there's a phrase that you like to use, like Alex is cool 101. I instead of just putting my name or my birth date, using my address or my kid's name, my dog's name, or their date of birth, use a passphrase that you use in combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, special characters to try to trick some of these hackers to make it harder for them to get into your information. Now let's talk about protecting your devices and your data, right? Because it's not just things that can happen, like I mentioned before, it's not just things that can happen um, through a screen, right? These attacks are becoming a little more physical, a little more in your face, right? So keep software updated. So ensure that your operating systems, your web browsers, the software, everything is up to date. Be mindful of physical security. Be aware of who's entering the building behind you and who's, getting on the elevator or coming off on your floor. Report any suspicious individuals. And I know we're all kind human beings, but unless you know someone is a colleague, do not hold the door open for individuals that you do not recognize. I rather they think that you're rude than there be a safety risk or data breach. Always, always lock your screen. Even if you're stepping away for a hot minute to go to the printer, lock your screen. This makes it hard for individuals to gain access to your system. So if you are on using Windows, make sure to click Control Alt Delete just that fast. You lock your screen. And if you're using a Mac or mobile device, that you use the lock screen option. Be cautious of public Wi-Fi. So if you work remotely some days a week, be cautious of the Wi-Fi that you tap into. You know, it is public. It's called public for a reason, and that's because your information is easily accessible by all. And always trust your gut, right? If something feels wrong or too good to be true, it probably is. Don't be afraid to say no or to seek clarification. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I understand that you need this information and that is urgent. But give me a minute. Let me call you right back. These hackers, these people they're really preying on our vulnerability, and they're waiting for us to be distracted. They're waiting for us to be under pressure in order to tap into some of those vulnerabilities and get into our systems. There's also some actions that you can take when you are in specific roles. So, while cybersecurity applies to everyone, there are some specific roles that are a little more vulnerable to cyber attacks and social engineering than other roles are. So, folks in our account payable, be extra vigilant regarding financial requests and any communication that is supposedly coming from senior leadership. Educate yourself and your team on these threats and really foster a culture of security awareness. Also, use some systems where not everyone has access to certain information, or where you need two individuals to say yes to process payment for an invoice. If you're an administrative assistant, for instance, or an executive assistant, and you manage a lot of different emails and calendars, fraudsters are really looking for your vulnerability of being so busy because you're managing all these different inboxes to tap into that and get you to divulge sensitive information. So always double check any requests or any links before you click on it. And if you're an executive, you are a high value target for attackers who may try to impersonate you or gain access to your privileged accounts. So be particularly cautious of unsolicited communications and always use secure networks of communication channels to verify that you're talking to the correct and true individual. So let's, recognizing and reporting incidents. If you ever suspect that you've been a victim of a phishing email, or if you encountered a uh, social engineering attempt, or have any concerns about a potential security incident, here's what you should do immediately. Do not click on any links or open any attachments. Do not reply to the message. Report it immediately to our IT department. You can email us always at support@tml.com. If you think you've entered your credentials on a fake website, change your passwords immediately and notify your supervisor. The Michaels organization does have some cybersecurity policies in place to make sure that if a threat occurs, that you know exactly what to do. At TMO, we're committed to protecting our employee data, and we invest in security technologies and trainings like this one to help us avoid these threats. However, technology alone, that firewall, our virus protection, it isn't enough. Our strongest defense is a well-informed team. So let's talk about how we're expected to use technology and handle data. TMO provides everyone with company computers. Think of these as your primary work tools. They help us maintain a secure environment. We need to keep company data secure. That means that you shouldn't be storing files or folders on your personal device. I know it's convenient. I know it's convenient to just hit save and put it on your desktop, or hit save and put it in your documents files. However, it is better to upload your information onto our Google Drive, or to keep that information in the programs that we use, Salesforce, for instance, to keep our information private and secure. If there's ever an issue where you've been locked out of your computer because of a cyber threat, you won't lose all of your information. Number one, you'll still have access through a cloud. But also, number two, if there's nothing important on there, if there's nothing that the hackers can use against you, then Michael's is more secure because of that. And while we're talking about our devices, let's talk about the clean desk policy, right? So this might seem basic, but it is crucial to our cybersecurity. Basically, the clean desk policy means that everything in your workspace is tidy and secure while you're away. So at the end of the day, you're locking your computer screen, you're putting away any sensitive documents that you may have, and you're just generally making sure that confidential information isn't left out in the open. It's about protecting not only our digital data, but also our physical documents as well. And as someone who has a hard time processing information on a screen, I tend to print a lot of paper. And so if you're just like me, it's important that any of those files that you're no longer using, or was a one-time read, that you shred it if it's no longer needed, or that you have it in a secure location under lock and key when you step away from your desk. Again, make sure that your passwords are strong. This is part of our policy. You have to have at least 8 characters, a mix of numbers and letters and special characters. Definitely do not use easy guessable words or patterns like password 1234. That's not secure. Anyone can figure that one out. On top of that, we need to use our 2-factor authentication to access company systems. So this adds an extra layer of protection and security. So even if someone gets a hold of your password, they'll need that second verification, whether it's a phone call that comes to your phone, whether it's a text message that you then click on saying that, yes, that was me, or no, that was not me. That's just an extra layer of protection for yourself and for the company. And it should go without saying, never, ever, ever share your passwords with anyone. When it comes to data security, TMO uses a variety of systems to store information, and this includes our Google Drive, Dropbox, and other systems. These systems, they all have their own security measures in place. So to protect these these systems and the sensitive information that we have, TMO uses an email encryption. This helps prevent any accidental leaks of data. We also have systems in place to scan files for sensitive data like social security numbers or financial information. If the system detects something sensitive, it labels the file and warns you if you try to share that externally. So we'll see a pop-up that says, are you sure you want to share this sensitive information? So the key takeaway here is that our data is everyone's responsibility, and we all need to be mindful of how we handle information, both online and offline as well. Staying informed is constantly evolving when it comes to the cybersecurity world. So we will continue to provide resources and lessons just like this one to keep you abreast of the latest threats and the best practices. Please pay attention to any security-related announcements that IT sends or any training materials that you receive. So I know that, sometimes those phishing simulations that we sent out, like on Valentine's Day, we had one that was an e-card. Someone was sending you an e-card because they love you so much. It was just us. We wanted to see if you will fall prey to that, if you will be vulnerable on that day, and click on that. We recently launched another one where we said that you can't access your Adobe account. Please follow the link to try to get access to your account. These are not there to trick you. Really, it's there to test how well you can be secure, test how well our organization as a whole is being secure and cyber aware and keeping our information as protected as possible. In the chat, I'm going to put a link there to our training calendar where you can sign up your team, or you yourself can attend an event of some of the information that IT has for you to keep you abreast on how we can stay safe, or also how to use some of the platforms and systems that we have. So if you know that you have a new employee, or you yourself aren't familiar with using some of our systems and applications, please log in Loom Apps on our intranet and look at our calendar and sign up for one of our trainings. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending this presentation today. I know that there are other priorities, other things that you could have gone to instead, and I hope that through this presentation I was able to impart to you some new information and reiterate the importance of being cyber aware and remaining cyber secure during these very sophisticated technological times. If you have any questions, my name is Alexandra Silvestri. My email address is listed there, and I am at the Camden office. And I thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.